book 32 of 2019 was Philip K. Dick's The Man in the High Castle. So, I love dystopian literature and dystopian film and all that kind of stuff. I feel like I might be sitting a bit too close. So I was really looking forward to reading this because it comes really highly recommended, and Philip K. Dick comes very, very highly recommended, and I don't really know why, because I've read another one of Philip K. Dick's, I think it was Minority Report, and that was really bad as well. And I was like, it's not bad, but it's not good either. It's kind of, I mean, maybe it was written like, it was written like ages ago. Do you know what I mean? So maybe 1962. So maybe that's why. But I mean, essentially, it's a story about what life would have been like if Germany, Nazi Germany, had been successful and had won the world wars. So it talks about how America is ruled by Germany but also ruled by Japan, and how, you know, the Japanese are more well thought of, which mimics, you know, the discrimination that they suffered at the end of, you know, how the wars happened. And it's kind of like there's this book out that someone's written, the man in the high castle, which is about what the world would have been like if Germany hadn't won the war, so as it actually did happen, but in the book. So it's kind of like paralleled and mirrored like that, which is interesting. It's a good device. Well done, Philip K. Dick. But like nothing much happens. Like there is a guy who runs like an antiques place, but it's an antiques place of like American like paraphernalia, like that obviously because American culture doesn't exist anymore because it's been infiltrated by Japanese and German. Like there's not much stuff left that's unique, not unique, that's authentic. Like it's all copied and stuff, because they've obviously infiltrated that culture. So it's kind of like, you know, things like a Mickey Mouse watch and stuff like that's part of our culture that we probably, you know, it's a bit crap, but it becomes kind of like what's that word where it's like it's rent oh, it's coming, revered. That's it. I knew it'd come eventually. It's like blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so it's like revered, and it's like actually like not really that important, you know, like as modern times like find like some pottery in the earth and it was probably what they shit in, do you know what I mean, something like that. So he runs this kind of like antique kind of place. It doesn't say antiques in it. I can't remember what the word was that it used, collectibles, whatever. And so the Japanese officials are wanting something from there, to give as a gift to somebody. And this person, Frink, I think he's called. What was it? No, it's not Frink. He's another character. Children. See, the problem is as well, a lot of the names of the characters are so like odd and so confusing. Like that you can't keep track of them all. Like there's so many of them. There's so many different parallel stories that are going on that you're just like, what is the point of this story? Like, and I picked up the book and put it down. I picked it up and put it up. I can't even speak. But I did all that because it was so boring and I just couldn't get through it. Like it was just like, oh. So anyway, like yeah, that happens, and then there's this guy who's the Frink character who goes into this shop to say that something's a copy because he used to work for the company that actually made the copy, and then he actually makes his own jewellery and then tries to sell it to them, and then like in the jewellery the Japanese person sees like some spirituality in it, and they always use this thing called the I Ching, which is like some bamboo rod things and to do with like Japanese, or is it Chinese, I can't remember, like philosophy or something, that tells you like it predicts like what's going to happen, like as almost like a, you know, fortune teller kind of style thing, and which I don't, is the I Ching a real thing? Maybe it is, but anyway it's heavily used by them all, and they can't do anything because they're always thinking like that this is true and it's going to come true or whatever, a bit like horoscopes kind of thing, but obviously it's more like tarot cards actually, I guess. But so that happens, and then the woman who used to be married to Frink has actually got off with some Italian truck driver, and he's a bit weird, and then they both go and find the guy who writes this book, The Grasshopper, not this book, but The Man in the High Castle. He's wrote this book called The Grasshopper, where it actually details what happened in our lives in terms of the war, not my lives, but our reality. So they're going to go and see him. And then, in the meantime, there's a guy called Baines who's like a Swedish industrialist, but he's not. He's got like a fake nose on, and he's pretending to be Swedish because he's actually a German Jew. And there's lots of concentration camps, and people are still getting put in the concentration camps, or there's gas chambers. They're basically killing everybody basically that doesn't agree with what they want to do. But the thing is, like, I've read lots of dystopian stuff before where, you know, things like having concentration camps, gas chambers still existing, and the fear of that could have been delivered in a much better way. Like, you know, if you think of like Handmaid's Tale and The Wall, and how they're kind of like chopping their hands off and stoning them and stuff, like, that was horrifying to read that, and I felt really like sick reading it. But when I read this, there was no emotion at all. Like, I wasn't moved in any way. I was like, okay, yeah, like, there's concentration camps and gas chambers in America, but I had no attachment to anybody that was going in one or anything like that. Like, and that could have been delivered a lot better. It's horrifying that to think of that, but I wasn't moved in that way when I was reading this. And then there's some kind of like shoot up between a Japanese official and Germany that are coming in, and there's some kind of internal fighting about who's in charge, and that's it. And then the book ends, and you're like, well, that was a waste of time. Like, I mean, a good premise, a good kind of like idea of a plot, but not delivered particularly well. I didn't kind of, I mean, I can kind of see the characters. Maybe the characterization was good, but it just felt really like there was no emotions. Like, you know, to it, I wasn't horrified. Like, when I read dystopian, it's good. I'm like, oh, like that all the time, and I'm like, oh my god, I feel sick, and I've got a headache, and like, you know, I'm like viscerally responding to it, and that just didn't work for me at all. Like, there's nothing in there that made that happen, and so and it was the same when I read Minority Report as well. I think that was by him. It was very much like, okay, great, like, alternate reality, but there's no feeling in it, there's no emotion in it. And I think maybe you do get like a lot of alternate reality kind of dialogue is like that. There isn't that kind of disturbing dystopia that I like. I like it when it disturbs me and it makes me think like, oh my god, like, if I was in that situation, that would be horrific. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy. So that you won't get that with this. So I think there needs to be like a dystopian category where it splits, where it's like psychological messes with your head dystopia, which is perfect for me, or just dystopia that's like space and like technology and what life is like in a different time, because that bit's shit. So yeah, not a fan really, but you might like it, you know, you might like it.